Hey everybody, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about 6 secrets to boundaries to keep your peace and to put your family first. This is a huge passion of mine, and I was actually working on, we have a mini course, and I was working on the mini course, and I was like, ooh, we need a section for boundaries. And so I wrote up this PDF, and Rachel's going to share the PDF with you, or I guess I didn't think about how you're going to share that, but let me know if you can get that figured out. Okay, in Google Drive. Perfect. So you guys can grab that if you're in the chat. If you're watching the recording, we'll link that as well. But anyway, I came up with this PDF and I was like, all right, we got to do like a training on this because I really do feel passionate. Now I have to tell you that, God has a sense of humor. Because of course, as soon as I announced this, you guys, I have been tested. I'm not kidding, like 4 times on my boundaries in like a week. I was like, okay, I have enough material. Like, Lord, I don't need these real life examples, but woo, I mean, just like out of nowhere, it's crazy. So, that's the thing with boundaries is we put them up, and I like to think of it as like a backyard fence, to keep the neighbors' dogs out and your kids in, right? But the truth is, they're going to be pushed, they're going to be pressed, they're going to be tried, they're going to be, experimented with. So maybe it's more like the furniture in your living room. I don't know. Does anyone a rearranger like me? Like I love rearranging furniture. Um, it's bad when we were first married. Like I would like meet Chris at the door, like, sorry, don't be mad, don't be mad. I rearranged all the furniture again. Of course, he wasn't mad, but it was just like constant for me. Mostly it was because our apartment was very odd shaped, like this giant square. And so there wasn't an obvious place. So I think I kept experimenting with it. So boundaries are a little bit like that. All right. When you're kind of experimenting with them at first, they're going to be pushed, right? People are going to be like, are you sure you don't want the couch over here? And you're like, no, I really want it over here. So I think don't be put off by that, right? It's not that your attempts at setting up boundaries didn't work. It's just it's going to be something you kind of have to revisit. And also like stage of life, right? Like tell me if what your kid status is in the chat. Like no kids, grown kids, little kids, like where are we at here? Because I'm sure we're across the board. But I think as my kids' ages and stages have changed, like my boundaries have had to change, right? Like I've had to do things differently. But there are some guiding principles, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'd also like to know in the chat, are you a VA or do you have another business? Let me know. Because I really like to know who I'm talking to. And I know, again, we're all over the place. And we probably have some current VA members in this call, which is awesome. Thank you. Welcome. Um, but it really does change based on stage of life, right? So if you are a VA already, this is going to be a really great training today. If you're not and you're thinking about it, also a great training. Or if you have another business, absolutely. Like this is going to apply to multiple businesses. I'm just going to speak to VAs. So it's the most applicable, but I'm sure that you can take this and run with it, whatever business you're in. Okay. Just a reminder, the VA Academy is the most amazing place to go if you want to build a VA business. There are certainly YouTube videos out there. You can go try to do it on your own, but we've really built the program in a unique way because I want you to be able to get clients in the fastest way possible. And I thought about that. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And one of the things we do is we certify you. So we have you jump through some hoops that we call challenges. And then by checking your work and having private calls with me, I can say, like, I've vetted these people. They're awesome. I can tell you that they do a good job. That's a huge part of our academy. So yeah, we're teaching you stuff, but honestly, you can go Google it. It's just a much longer road. I like to say that if I was going to Europe, I would absolutely get a tour guide. Like, I don't want to go over there, just figure it out. Right. So when you're learning a new culture, a new language, like it's really great to have a tour guide. I've used business coaches like since 2011. I swear by it. It's what's made me grow my business to 7 figures. And then I've started other businesses. I've sold businesses. We own a marketing agency. I've started my parents' theater company. I started this coaching business. We own, did I already say that? A marketing company. So we've started multiple churches, but all around along the way, we've paid coaches because they've already been on the trip, right? They've already gone to Europe. They already know the language. And I want to know what I can learn from them and not make the same mistakes they made, right? I just feel like it's a shortcut. So the VA Academy is that shortcut. It's going to teach you the skills you need to be a VA, but we're going to vet you. Like we're actually going to check your work. So it's kind of like an online classroom. And then we're going to celebrate you too, which just feels good to have like people cheerleading you on, right? Like it's very, very helpful. And then we're also going to list you on our directory. So I'm going to promote you. I'm going to like tell people, hey, these are the awesome VAs. You got to check them out. And people come to me all the time, like, I hired one of your VAs. They're amazing. I'm like, I know they're amazing. They are amazing. So you're going to get me promoting them. And then there's just a lot of like validity to being on our directory, and people share that directory, and they're like, hey, these people are awesome. And so then you get that word of mouth as well. So just kind of wanted to give you some of the highlights of the Academy. We will be sending you some emails later. I do have a really special offer if you're here today. So look for that in your email, but I don't want to waste time talking about it now. I want to get to the good stuff about boundaries. Okay, first of all, I just want to say, oh my gosh, bless you. Kaylee's got 4 kids under 5. Oh my Lanta. Okay, just hang in there, mama. Hang in there. Dana's got 3 kids, 21, 18, and 14. She can see the finish line, although we're never finished, right? And it actually gets more complex. They graduate. But I didn't tell you that. You didn't hear that from me. Okay, Rachel's got 4 littles, 9 down to 11 months. Kate's got all adults, 1 at home, and she's a VA. Kaylee's a VA. Kimberly, no kids. Tammy, one's very spirited 3-nager. I love it. Sammy, VA and moving beyond. Love it. Kimberly, yes, a VA. Cody, 4 kids, 1 to 13, hoping to become a VA. Love it. Carla, VA member, but trying to transition into being a VA. Awesome. Ellen, no business officially, 1 elementary age child. Great. Good. I love it, you guys. I'm so glad you're here today. All right. So you probably have that PDF. If you don't, Rachel's in the comments. She can help you out. So we're going to talk about 6 secrets to protect your boundaries, keep your peace, and put your family first. Okay. First thing out of the gate I want to talk about is giving your clients clear communication boundaries. Essentially, I want you to decide which platforms you will use for communication. Now, I want you to be honest, and I'm not going to call it out so it's not on the recording, okay? But do you allow your clients to text you? Because I'm kind of passionate about this one, okay? In fact, unfortunately, today I had to put my foot down with 2 clients, none of you guys, but on our agency side, and say, do not text me. I don't like it, guys. I don't like it. I want to keep texts for friends, family, my husband, jokes, memes. Don't text me, right? They can email me and they can use Slack. Some people use Telegram. There's so many things you can use. You can use, what's the other one? Voxer is great. Basically, texting is instantaneous, right? And like rarely, we go on do not disturb, but pretty much like if you can text me, like I'm going to get it, right? That privilege does not go to my clients. So I really encourage you, if this is something that you just sort of accidentally fell into, because it's very, very common for business owners, I would attempt to move them all over. Okay. I'm going to give you some strategies on the way to get started with clients, but if they're kind of like in that habit, it's tricky, right? You could, if you do have a client that requires it or something, use a Google Voice number. Okay. I don't pay for Google Voice. I can't remember now if they're still grandfathering you in or you have to pay. Somebody can tell me in the chat, but it should be free for what you need it for, but people can text that number. Okay. That's awesome because then you can have some privacy settings. You can have a, not like do not disturb on that, or it just doesn't show up quite the same as in the same vicinity of all your loved ones, right? So that's a way if you really need to text them. And by the way, like a Google Voice number is still my same phone. Okay, it's just an app. So if you do a sales call with me, I don't dial it from my phone number. And why? Because then you feel like now you can call me back or text me. No, you can't do that. Sorry. I love y'all. But like we have to have boundaries, right? It's not about love. It's about kind of priorities, right? And in my life, my family comes first, and I need to have my clients in a little boundary box. The other thing is you will quit your business faster than you could say boo if you don't have boundaries. Okay. You're gonna be like, well, this isn't worth it, right? Like, forget it. And how many of you have started businesses and torn it all down, like blocks, right? Like playing with a toddler. You know how you build like blocks and then toddler comes by and smashes it. Oh my goodness. I have built so many things that I have essentially torn down. And if you have done that too, you're probably a creative. It's kind of normal. It's okay to have like rough drafts, but Dana's laughing. It's okay. It really is okay. And we learn, right? We learn from every single experience. But just trust me, if you don't implement some of these boundaries, you're going to be like, forget it. I don't know how other people do this. I'm out. So that's why it's really, really important. So personally, I use Slack and email. I do not use text. they will be mad at you. Okay. So I hate to tell you guys that. I hate it because like I like to be the bearer of good news, but boundary pushers will get frustrated. All right. So you have to like feel it. And then if you're like me, I went and listened to white noise in my headphones. And I was like kind of rocking back and forth and like praying, like, okay, okay, they're mad at me. It's okay. It's okay. You will survive it. Okay. You will survive people being mad at you. You won't survive letting your clients encroach upon your life, right? And expecting 24/7 responses or interrupting you while you're stirring spaghetti, your kids getting frustrated that you're not listening to them. Like there are worse things than your clients being mad at you. Write that down. Oh, it doesn't seem like it, does it? But it's really, really true. Okay, there are worse things than your clients getting mad at you. You don't want to lose your marriage. You don't want teens literally cutting you off and saying you were working all the time. Like, ooh, baby. No, my goal is that my kids see that I've built a business, that they see how I did it, that they see that I was juggling meetings and work and home life. Like, I don't need to hide that from them, but I do think boundaries is essential to your well-being, your mental health, and your family, and your other relationships and stuff. Um, I mean, when I was a kid, we moved into this new neighborhood and my parents like immediately put up a fence. All the neighbors were pissed. They were so mad. We're like, "Hi, welcome. Thanks for welcoming us to the neighborhood. You're pissed at us. That's great." But we had a dog, and my parents had dreamed they had been renting for years and years, and they finally bought a house. And my mom had always dreamed of having a backyard with a fence. But the neighbors that were already there were used to kids just running around everywhere, right? And we were like we were on a street, but right next to us was a cul-de-sac, and then behind us was a cul-de-sac. So it's almost like all of these yards converged. I mean, literally, I can count one, two, three, four, probably five, six, seven houses that our yards were just like kind of connected. And so I'm sure to them it felt like, oh, great. Like they just parceled this off, right? But that was essential for my mom to know where we were, for us to keep the dog in, and sometimes shut the gate and tell the neighbors, like, we're not playing today. So if you put up a fence, you're going to have people push back. I'm talking figuratively now, but truly their frustration will pass and they will adjust. Just like the fence is just same as your boundaries. Now, how many of you use Facebook Messenger? Because I will gladly do that for prospecting. Okay. If somebody's interested in my services, they might first reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, and that is just fine. Okay. That is just fine. However, this is how I move them to email. Okay. So I'll say either absolutely can help you with that. What's your email address? Okay. That's the first thing I ask because I want them on my list. Okay. That's list building. That is the best way to keep in contact is email, building a list. You should have an obsessive goal with building your email list. So that's my first step. Or, hey, let's get on a call and talk about that. And I give them my link. And then I make it required on the call link for them to give me their email. Same thing. Now they're on my list. And now all communication from me is going to be moved via email. This hasn't bit me too many times. All right. And if they keep pushing it, I'll just say, hey, in order to keep everything organized, can we please move this to email? And they're usually respectful. Now, I tend to work, well, all VAs do, I guess. When you're working with business owners should be used to that. So is it still going to happen that you have probably ENFP, ADHD, crazy business owners that you're serving that it's the fastest, to reach for Messenger? Sure, it's going to happen. But for the most part, keep your conversations, move them to email. The other thing is next level, and you can do this as a VA, is you can hire a VA, and that VA can be your gatekeeper. And so my excuse is, hey, can you send an email to Rachel? Like Rachel can handle that. Rachel can get that for you. So that can be something as you get busier and you're handling bigger clients and you've got bigger packages. Maybe you're building websites, you're doing social media, you're doing Google Ads, SEO, whatever, like big projects, you are going to want a VA. All right. It's the best thing in the world. I seriously, you guys, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me to be able to say, just email Rachel. And then she keeps track of it. But it's not just to get work off my plate, it's to keep boundaries. Okay. Not everyone deserves to be accessible for you to be accessible to them all the time. So one good exercise is kind of like draw a ring. Okay, draw a circle, write your name in the middle of it. Draw another bigger circle, another bigger one, and another one. So it's like 3 levels. Who's in your inner circle? Who gets quick access to you? Like write the names in there. It could be your spouse, it could be your parents, it could be your kids. I don't know. Who's on the next ring out? Like, and maybe you have close friends that are in that inner ring and maybe they've moved out a little bit, right? Like these are movable things as well. But who is in your inner ring? Who's in the next ring out? Like who are the group chats that you silence the alerts, right? And you read them when you can, right? Or who are the people that like, yeah, they get access to you, but like you might have coffee like every couple months or once a year, right? And then who's really on the outer that, they're, you still love them, they're your aunts, whatever, but you don't talk to them very much or something. Defining who's in each ring will be a really good way to help you enforce your boundaries because you'll think to yourself, oh, yeah, my clients don't need to get that inner ring, right? So that's an exercise you can do. If people repeatedly come back to me on Messenger, what I do is hide alerts as well. Okay, so you click mute. So you go up to their profile, click mute, and it'll say for how long. And it'll be like 1 hour, 1 day, whatever, until I turn it back on. So this might sound mean. It's not. Also, side note, strive to be kind, not nice. Okay? Be kind, not nice. I have fallen into this trap so much that I'm like, well, just to be nice, I'll do this. Just to be nice, I'll do this. Right? I think that when we do something just to be nice, we're actually bending our own boundaries. I think our goal should be kindness. Where's your heart? Are you a loving, kind person? I really am. Like sometimes to a fault, right? Because I like getting A's and making the teacher proud, and I like being a people pleaser, and I'm the oldest child and oldest granddaughter. And like I learned really early that it was felt really good to make adults happy, right? Anybody else? So I call myself a recovering people pleaser. Yeah, it's hard, right? But we can channel it for good, okay? We can channel it for good. And that's been my mantra lately. Be kind, not nice. So when I find myself going, oh, I should do that just to be nice, I'm like, hang on. And I'll just give it another glance. Brene Brown, in her book about boundaries, let's see, what is her book called? I always forget. So Townsend and Cloud has a book called Boundaries. If you've never read it, read it. If you've read it a long time ago, read it again. Brene Brown says, though, and I've read all of her books, so I can't remember which one it is, but she said we can be the most loving and generous version of ourselves in boundaries, right? So even with my grandbaby, I like to say when I can watch her here, because then within those hours, I can be the best Nana in the world. But I can't like watch her every day just to be nice, right? Because then everything else is going to get by the wayside and I'm not going to be able to work and I'm not going to be able to, The Gifts of Imperfection. Thank you, Rachel. That's a great book by Brene Brown. Yeah. So think about it. What are your boundaries? How can you be the most generous version of yourself to your clients? Maybe it means scheduling a monthly Zoom. Or if they're a more hands-off client, like maybe you're just managing their website, a quarterly Zoom where it's like, during this time, this is when you can talk and brain dump anything you want to me. Or you have notifications shut off so that when you come back to work, you can give them the very best of you instead of while you're stirring the spaghetti. And forget stirring the spaghetti, it's making the noodles and the spaghetti and the meat, and then probably gluten-free if you're a family like mine. And then you're straining them, right? And then you've got 2 different timers going because the noodles are different, take longer or whatever. Then you've got bread in the oven, and heaven forget you used the wrong pan twice, like I did. Haven't burnt bread in my marriage. I'm not sure if I ever have used the wrong pan. Yep. So is that the moment to be getting Slack messages? No. So I mute Slack. I check Slack when I have the presence of mind to check it. That is how I can be the most generous, loving version of me. Does that make sense? So I love Slack, but control your notifications, control your boundaries, and then you can actually be the best version of you. All right. Let's go to number 2. I don't have these numbered on mine. Actually, I don't even know if that's number 2. I'm going to be honest. I think this is still under give your clients clear communication. Be specific in how long your turnaround time will be for the work that you do. Okay. Or if you're writing a proposal, be really clear. Now, here's the deal. This is my rule of thumb, and I think you should write this down. You should reply to every email within 24 hours. Ideally, 12 hours or less. Most ideally, within 1 hour. Okay. So that's actually my rule, is within an hour. But you can tell them that you will respond within 24 hours. So you want to under promise and over deliver, right? You want to be realistic, be clear, and say things like, I'll get that to you by the end of the week. I'll get that to you next week. I'll get that to you. The first draft of your website should be completed by next month. Say it. Okay. But then if you're faster than that, they're just going to be tickled pink. Right. And that is our job, is to delight your clients. And I think the way we delight our clients is in being realistic. What is it? Overpromise. No, I just said it a second ago. Underpromise, over deliver, right? So keep your promises low. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I tend to get really excited with clients, right? So I'm like, oh, this is no big deal. I can totally do this. Yes. Oh, I'll get it done tonight. That's probably my ADHD, right? Don't do that. Okay. Don't be like me. Don't say that. You can feel it. You can feel it in your heart. Like, oh, this is going to be easy. We never know what's going to come up, right? Like just doing this workshop, you guys. I was like, this is no big deal. Oh my gosh. Well, then I have to create a graphic in Canva, right? And that takes creative energy. Then I have to download it. Then I have to upload it to my website. Oh, wait, scratch that. I have to find a website page that I've already built or built a new one and put the image in there. Wait, no, I need a form. So I have to create a form for people to sign up. And then what's the first email they get? Or does the form go to an event? And then do I follow? There's always more steps than we think, right? So no matter what, no matter if you think, no big deal, I'll get this done for you today. Don't say it. Okay. Tell them by the end of the week. And then if you get it done today, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you're a wizard. You're a unicorn. You're amazing. And you'll be like, yeah, I know. But build in buffer for yourself because we never know what's going to happen, right? So be realistic, be clear, tell them when it's going to be done, but always give yourself more buffer. It's so much better to give yourself lots of time and then surprise them by being early. So another example, we do VA matches, right? So if business owners want to hire a VA, they submit a form and it's free, and they get to get a VA match, our best recommendations based on their personality, their business, their needs. And I always tell them it's going to take 5 business days, which is another good wording. Okay, 5 business days. Because then you can kind of delete the weekend. Even if you guys are working on the weekend, that's great. Go for it. Like work whenever you want to, right? But promise them, because they're a business owner and they're going to know business days, say 5 business days. Then we almost always get it to them within 2 or 3 days. Then they're excited, right? But we have a buffer if something goes wrong, right? If it's taking longer, if we need to clarify some details, whatever it is, saying 5 business days seems to work really well. And I think that Rachel would agree because she's part of that whole process with me. So give yourself extra time and space. Keep firm hours. We've kind of talked about this, but they should not be allowed to reach you all day, every day, at any time. Even if you're working at 4 a.m. or 11 p.m. or the weekends, that doesn't need to be when your clients can reach you. Does that make sense? You can tell them, generally, my working hours are 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. or something like that. Also, I think it's really smart. Rachel and I do this for each other. If you are working super late, schedule the email or schedule the Slack message to be sent tomorrow. They don't need to know you're working at 11 p.m. Does that make sense? Because in a way, you're not, but in a way, it feels like you're breaking your own boundaries. If you say, my office hours are generally 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., that's when you're saying, like, you can expect to hear from me right away. But if you're basically, okay, the example we sets a precedent. So if you set the example that you're working at 11 p.m., they're going to feel free to message you at 11 p.m. And that's fine, right? If you've got your notifications off and you don't answer it. But there are takers out there, guys. And if you're a giver like me, you're not even going to really understand takers because we don't, right? Like we're not, we don't understand takers. Takers will take and take and take until there's nothing left to take. So where you feel like you're given a little gift, you're bending it, they will take it and run it and push it further. So there's just a few little sneaky hacks that you can do, like you finished a reel, you finished a project, you finished something, hey, take a look at these images I made for you in Canva, schedule it for 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. the next day. Does that make sense? It just helps keep your hours better. You don't have to, okay? But it's just a little hack. When you're not working, when you're with your family, don't get those notifications. You can schedule when you get notifications, like in Slack and stuff. I love that. So there's times when they're on for me, there's times when they're not. And also, write this down, just because you get messages immediately does not mean you have to respond immediately. Oh, that's so hard, isn't it? Because I love getting rid of a notification, right? I am like a baseball player at batting practice. Throw them to me. Boom, 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 right? Like one after another. Just keep them coming. Like that, again, that's probably my ADHD. I'm a 9 on quick start. Like, let me jump in and finish it. But sometimes that teaches your clients, wow, she is really fast. She is really responsive. In essence, you train your clients. So what you allow will continue. Write that down. What you allow will continue. Okay. So if you, I don't know, it's so hard, you guys. It's a fine line, right? Because I love delighting my clients. I love getting things done right away. I just don't think you have to tell them right away. Okay. So if they, Chris and I do this a lot in our marketing agency. If we have a website edit or something come in, he might do it right then, but he's going to schedule an email for the next day saying, okay, all taken care of. Simply to train them that we are not at their beck and call. You guys, nobody pays you enough to be at your beck and call. Nobody. Ever seen Devil Wears Prada? We just started to watch that again. Nobody needs to be like the assistant Andy. Okay, that is horrible. All right. Now, I did relate a little when Miranda, the villain, was like, no, no, don't bother me with these trivial details. Off, off. I was like, oh, I want to do that sometimes, right? Like it's tempting, right? Like, don't ask me little details. And that's just because of my Colby. But that is also why I have Rachel. Go ask Rachel. I don't know, but no way I could be as mean as Miranda. Like she's mean, right? So you are not a personal assistant. You do not get sent across the street to buy the twins flip-flops, or go get this exact coffee or whatever. No, 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 no. No, you're a virtual assistant. You've got to have boundaries. Okay. And you do not need to respond right away. Okay. If questions are coming up, put it in the chat. But you guys, I really believe in this. All right. Another way to set up boundaries is charge monthly recurring fees instead of hourly. Be really, really clear on what your clients are paying for. All right. So they know exactly what they're getting. And you kind of have to remind them a lot. Right. So, like every month, be like, hey, here are the 30 images that we agreed on. I've also done blah, 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 the 2 reels that you requested. Like very, very clear on what they're purchasing in their contract, in the proposal first, then the contract. And then I think having a lot of transparency is really great. Like anytime I pay people and they're sending me reports and saying, hey, here's how the ads are performing this month, here's what we're doing, or, just a recap, this is what I did for you this week. Life-changing. And they're gonna want to keep paying you. So the more communicative you are with them, the more proactive in reports or emails summarizing what you've done, the more likely they're going to keep you. And I think they're going to press your boundaries less when they know full well what you're doing. In fact, you might not hear from them. Okay. So we're talking about takers and we're talking about boundary pushers. There's a whole nother breed of clients that we just can't even get a hold of. Anybody experience that? Right? Like that's a different issue. Okay. But in a way, it can be frustrating in its own way, but it can also be nice. But for those who are just like in your face all the time, they get a moment, they get a great idea in the shower and they're texting you about it. That's when you've got to have the boundaries. You've got to have the buffer. Okay. So that's just one way is to charge recurring fees or packages. And we go into that a lot in the academy. Take proper ownership of what you can do and what's up to the client. This is a big one. This is a really big one. A lot of our VAs have struggled because they're so amazing and they're wonderful, but they've struggled with almost being more worried about the client stuff than the client. And I think that's where we have to really understand is you can't want it more than they do. Okay, you can't want this for them more than they do. You can't be more invested than they are. Like that, it might be hard to fully grasp that concept unless you're in it. So tell me in the chat, like, have you experienced this yet? Right? So take proper ownership of what you can do and what is up to the client. So knowing what your job is versus you may see down the road, you may see problems that are going to arise or that are even happening now, and you may be tempted to like fix them all. That's not your job. Okay. Or you may be worried maybe about legalities of some sort for them. It's their business. Okay. So you can only do what you've agreed to do. Now, does it mean you can't give them a heads up? Does it mean that you can like alert them? Of course, you can give them ideas, but make sure if you're giving them strategy that you're being paid as a strategist. Okay. If you're getting paid $20, $25, $30 an hour for general admin work, that's not including strategy. Okay. Do you guys believe me? Like you are a responder. Your job is to respond to a request. Kind of like Alexa on, if you want to use her, right? She's standing by. Now she doesn't have very good boundaries, but that's her full job. She's a robot. But she's there and she responds to our request, right? You can be a VA admin and just respond to what they want you to do. When you go further and you're charging $1,000 a month for their social media or $1,500 a month to manage their Facebook ads or $1,700 a month to be running SEO and Google Ads, which these are all real prices, okay, that we charge or that I pay currently, then absolutely you should have strategy rolled in there because then someone's paying you not just for the work you're doing, but they're paying you for your knowledge, your expertise, for you to be kind of a tour guide, for you to look around the corner and see what's coming. Okay. So if you're getting paid that money, then absolutely you can give them a heads up. But even in coaching, I cannot care more than my clients, right? I need to take proper ownership for what I can do. And then you got to leave it. So if it's bleeding over into, your evenings, you're talking about it all the time, you're distraught, you're brainstorming with your husband, you can't figure out how to solve a problem, you're just wringing your hands, like, that's also not good boundaries on your part. Okay. So you really have to know, like for instance, if I'm going to do social media for someone, I am not guaranteeing that they're going to get clients. I'm saying I'm going to post for you daily or 2 times daily. I'm going to create content for you. That's what I mean by very clear. If I run ads for you, I'm not even promising you're going to get clients because you know what? I don't know if you're answering your phone. I don't know if you're a complete dweeb. I don't know if your business actually sucks, right? But I'm promising to run ads, to strategize with you, to come up with maybe a coupon or an offer. Maybe I'm creating images. Maybe I'm doing the targeting. Very, very clear on what my part is. And it's up to them to actually grow their business. Okay. If you want to watch Shark Tank, the sharks that invest in their business get a percentage of their business. That is a different situation, right? Because now they are in business together and that shark is going to use all their resources. Now, what I've noticed, because I don't watch this anymore, But some of these people have created empires, right? They bought signage companies and print companies and all these things because now it's all connected, right? It's their empire. So now if they buy your cookie business or buy into it, they're going to use one of their companies to do the signs, to do the print things. And so that way it's all staying kind of in-house. Does that make sense? That is a different situation, right? If you have a stake in a business, which I do not recommend, like please do not do a partnership, okay? Book a private call with me before you set up a partnership because I've been there, done that, not great. All right, seriously, it's really tricky. It's really hard. I'd much rather have you get paid like a set fee than to actually have a partnership, okay? Because it gets real messy. Yeah, and some of you have been there, done that, learned from it, right? And yeah, it can be very frustrating when you see what they need to do. It's not your job though. Okay. You gotta leave it. When you shut your laptop, you gotta leave it behind. And you go in the name of Jesus. Lord help them, right? And you shut that laptop and now you're off. All right. So you do what you can, what you have, where you are, one of my favorite sayings, and then you leave the rest alone because it's up to them. So take proper ownership. Remember that you are a helper, not a part owner. You are not a shark. Okay. If you could invest millions, and the reason they invest millions is because they know they can take their money and with all their connections, their marketing, everything, they can make lots and lots of money. You are not part owner. So know what is your role and what is their role. And sometimes they won't do their role. And they will expect you to make this happen. They're expecting you to make it rain. They're expecting you to, and that's especially hard if you're a VA that helps with marketing. Okay. But that's why you just have to be clear. This is the part I'm doing. You know, there's so many pieces, you guys, and I've done this for years and years and years, and I've done the marketing and the coaching side, and still, even with coaching, there's just only so much I can do. The rest is up to them. All right. And they're going to have to struggle and figure it out. It's a lot like our kids, to be honest. Young adult kids, right? Like there's only so much we can do. So you love them and you have proper, generous love within boundaries, within what you've set up, and what you're getting paid for. And it's okay to say, like, hey, if you'd like to bump up the package, we could have regular strategy sessions, or we could do that, or we could go more in depth. Because if they ask you, like, hey, can you also do this? I'm not saying with boundaries for you to go, no, 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 that's not what you're paying me for. Like, we do, that's not, it's, yes, I can. I will send over a proposal to let you know how much that would be. Okay. So don't say yes and wrap it into what you're doing. If it's beyond the scope of what you've agreed on, say yes if you want to, right? I can absolutely do that. Let me send you over some pricing. And if they're like, oh, I just thought, you could roll that in. Like, oh, nope, that's not under what we're currently doing, but I'm happy to discuss that if that's what you want to expand to. So you have to kind of practice some of these little phrases and stuff so that you can still feel kind, right? But that you're not just saying yes to everything. Or another phrase is, I'm about to go over my hours. Would you like me to keep going? And I can bill you for those, or would you like me to wait for next month? Right? So just little things like that so that you're enforcing the boundary without being a jerk. Okay, the next one, send a weekly email. Okay, I used to own a music school. Probably many of you guys know that. So I started out as a piano teacher. Then I started hiring teachers that worked for me. I did all the admin, billing, marketing, scheduling, newsletters, whatever. Did that for 20 years. Yeah, like 20 years. And grew it so much that we started renting physical space. Before that was the disastrous partnership, but we don't need to talk about it. So I got my own space. I had 9 rooms and I didn't want to be on the front desk. I wanted to be home with my kids and I wanted to homeschool. So I had at the end, 4 desk staff that worked for me. And so I've had teams. I've hired employees, I've hired contractors, I've hired teachers, and I've done all the admin. And at the music school, when we had more than one admin, it was essential that we had actually a daily recap of what happened at the front desk. So everybody was on the same page. I'm sorry if the glare on my glasses is distracting. Like you guys have to tell me. I do not know how to fix it. Like get anti-glare. I don't know. So I'm sorry. And I don't hold still. That's for sure. So I apologize. Anyway, so we would do a daily email after every shift. The admin that was working would say, Mrs. Smith called. She said she's going to call back. I gave her these openings. She's interested in getting 3 kids started with lessons. I wiped down the bathroom. We had an unfortunate accident with one of the students. I didn't have time to fill all the pencil cups. I can do that on my next shift, or somebody else can. So and so needed to change times. I moved them from Tuesday at 3 to Thursday at 4. Why? This creates a record. So if we're like, what happened? When did that child move from Tuesdays to Thursdays? It's in the daily email, right? The next person who comes on the shift can read what just happened before them and what might happen during their shift. Now, as a coach, so I sold that business in 2020. It's still going strong, 600 students almost a week. Awesome. Great. Okay. Now I'm all in with coaching. Rachel sends me a weekly summary. So she probably is building this as a draft all week long. And she's giving me the highlights. Okay. She's not like telling me I opened this email and I replied, but she's giving me the highlights of anything extra. We have sections that's like needs your attention. So I know, like, hey, this popped to the top of my list, something we need to do. We also have a section that's things we're working on. So last week it was, hey, this workshop's coming up. Like, these are some things that we're working on, like, so we know we're on the same page. I highly recommend you do this. So as a VA, you send a weekly summary to your clients. I promise your clients will keep paying you and paying you and paying you if you have clear communication. It's like top of the list, baby. But that's why it's clear, what are they paying you for? And this is why I like packages more than hourly, because if all you're doing is sitting around waiting for them to give you a task so that you can bill them, you might not hear from them. So while you have them on a sales call, while you have them on a discovery call, while they're, getting a quote from you, make very clear, this is okay, so I'm listening to you. This is what you need, and this is what I'll do for you. And then you have that agreement so you know what you're doing every week or every month. All right. Then, of course, you're waiting for other messages, Slack messages, whatever. They're going to add things on. But I think if you're only ever waiting to respond and you're only ever billing hourly, that's when VA businesses get really, really frustrating. Has anyone been there? It can be really hard, and you can start questioning, like, is this really the business for me? So really, I think the ticket to having a successful business is having recurring income. So you know how much you're making every single month. And that happens with packages. Okay. And being very, very clear. So it kind of all goes together. You're going to have a successful business. You're going to know how much money you're making. They're going to know what they're paying for. You're going to be able to report what you're doing each week or month, and they're going to keep paying you. I think that clients will often quit when they don't know what the heck you're doing. Okay. Because when they start to get panicky about their numbers, about their budget, it's like our brains sort of scan, like, what can I get rid of? Now, if a client's just recently dropped you, I'm not saying this is what happened. It just can be one reason for someone to go, well, they're not quite essential. So if you have really good communication and you're very clear with what you're doing, and especially mapping out results that can feel intangible. So if you're doing Google ads or you're doing Facebook ads, literally having screenshots or reports or charts or graphs that you're sending regularly to let them know, like, hey, the engagement was up. You got more likes on your page. This one seemed to do quite well and had, 2,000 views. Or this ad isn't performing. So this is what I'm changing about it. So I have a Facebook VA. That's what she does for me. She says, hey, I'm switching this up, or these 2 ads are competing for each other. So I'm pausing this one. She's just letting me know what she's doing. That makes me say, awesome, she's in good hands. Kind of think of a VA as like a babysitter for a business. Okay. And if you've ever had a babysitter for your kids, like, don't you appreciate it when they like check in, send you a picture, send you a text, or tell you at the end of the night how it went? Right? Like, even I didn't like, if I ever had babysitters, they're like, they're angels, they're angels. I'm like, no, they weren't. So like, tell me legit, like, what happened? Like, I'm not going to fire you because my kid hit his head, but like, just be honest. I would always tell my babysitters that, like, just be real with me if they were naughty or something. Like, I don't want them to get in trouble. Well, I don't want them to be naughty to you. So like, just have transparency. And if I need to, I'll talk to them. They appreciated that. But I appreciated the real report, right? They went to bed well. They didn't. They pushed, They wanted to stay up later. I had one babysitter who routinely let them stay up later because she loved my kids so much. She was single, no kids, and she would beg me to babysit my children. I know. I was very lucky, very blessed. But she's like, Jen, and I would put my kids insanely to bed, say insanely early. We're talking 7 p.m., guys. Like my kids were trained, mostly because I had to work and I had super sleep sensitive kids. So if they didn't get enough sleep, it was bye-bye the next day. Like nothing's getting done, right? Meltdown city. And she'd be like, I'm so sorry, but I let them stay up till 8:30. Like you guys had just left and I wanted to play with them more. Okay, fine. But at least she told me, right? So she was clear. So having clear reports for your clients is really essential, I think, for retaining them. And they're just going to appreciate it so much. So when you've gotten work done, if they've asked you to, maybe they've emailed you about something, always replying something like on it or done. Because I'm telling you, as the business owner, it's a terrible feeling that you sent an email and it feels like an open loop. It's like I'll suddenly remember, like 6 hours later, did I do that? Did I ask them to do that? Because there's so much going on in my head. It's so much more peace in my brain when I can just get a simple response of, yep, on it, got it. And I 9 years, 10 years probably now with Rachel, like I got her trained, baby. She's an expert at got it, like, and I don't even always love the little emojis on Slack because I sometimes miss those. But if I do miss it, I'll just go back and at least it's there, right? She responded. She gave me a thumbs up or something. I need to know that I threw the ball. Now you've got the ball and you're going to toss it back to me. So if your client asks you, hey, can you redirect this link, or can you set up this form, or can you embed this, or could you schedule this email, saying, okay, done. Huge. Okay. So very, very clear communication, not just the weekly, but like as you're doing it. It's huge. When you go above and beyond, you guys, that is what's going to make you stand out. Now, why on earth would someone pay you 30, 40, 50, $60 an hour to be their VA when they can go get a VA in the Philippines for $5 an hour? Because of these things. Okay. Because we do outsource some things to wonderful humans in the Philippines, but they are not going above and beyond with communication. They're not sending weekly emails. Okay. I want you guys rolling out the red carpet. I want you to be the most amazing VA, but that's also why I want you to charge $30 and up. Okay. Or packages, right? You should be charging $500 a month for a package to do a certain job, or $1,000 a month. You guys are top tier VAs. All right. And that's how I want you to view it and how I want you to treat your clients, because it's going to get you quality clients. Okay. You don't want the bargain seekers. Okay. Who wants to be the VA on clearance? No, 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 no. Now, I love a good deal, you guys. Like, I'm kind of obsessed. I love the clearance aisle. I'm not putting that down. But I'm saying, as far as business clients, you want business clients who they are making money and they want quality, and therefore they will pay your rates. You are going to have a much happier business. And this is going to back to the title, like this is how you're going to protect your peace, right? When you're actually making good money. And several people in the academy, I just did a little video to make some testimonials. And like 2 or 3 of them said they have already, in a year or less in the academy, made the same as their husband's salary. That is so cool. That is amazing. And that is possible. And I think how is by aiming for the clients that really need you, that aren't scraping the bottom of the barrel. So when you lower your prices, it's worth less. So one of my sons was telling me about some sort of alcohol. I don't really drink. Okay. If I do, it's very occasional, but I don't remember the name or anything. But basically, they were going to pull the plug. Actually, I do know the name. It's Grey Goose. Do you guys know what that is? Apparently, they were about to go under. They were about to pull the plug, and they got advice from somebody and said, price it with the top tier. I don't know if it's wine. I shouldn't be giving an example. I don't have the details for, but the concept is the same. They raised the price. They did nothing else, making millions. Completely turning the company around because the price tag does equal perceived value, right? Have you ever seen something so cheap that you're like, what's wrong with it? Right? Like Hmm. And my uncle, super smart, super amazing, like literally drop out of high school, got his GED, went to work in the mailroom of a stock company. I'm getting chills just talking about this. Worked his way up as now the VP of the company, you guys. Phenomenal. Owns multiple houses, investments. I could probably safely say he's a millionaire. All right. I He came to me with a proposal one summer. So I was dating Chris. We weren't engaged. Chris was going to be out of the state all summer for an internship, and I didn't want to be left behind. I was like, oh, no, no, no. I experienced a summer with a boyfriend, and I don't want to be here without him, but I didn't really know what to do. So my uncle pitched a deal to me. He said, all right, Jen, how much do you make in the summer? And at that time, I was a full-time nanny. I was teaching piano lessons on Saturday, and then the nanny family would also pay me to clean their house once a week. So I've always worked multiple jobs. It's just who I am. I work hard. I look for opportunities, right? So I told him a number, whatever it was. I would love to know that number now because it was probably pretty low. It was probably like $1,500. I don't even know. Okay. I'd have to go look. I tell him the number and he goes, all right, I'll match that. You come live with us and nanny my 2-year-old all summer because my aunt has chronic health issues. I was like, done. Let's go. And one of the things he taught me while I lived with him for a summer is he would send me the story. He'd be like, Jen, I need a 3-hole punch. Can you go do that today for me? Yes, absolutely. And I don't remember, I don't even think I had a cell phone at the time. I think I came home from that store and he goes, all right, did you get it? And I said, I didn't know which one to buy. And there were like 7 3-hole punches. Like I was frozen. Like, this is your money. I didn't know. And he goes, Jen, always buy the middle. You don't need the very most expensive, but don't get the cheap one. And that has stuck with me forever. So even in your businesses, you guys don't need to price yourself so far that nobody hires you. Okay. But don't be the bottom of the barrel. Step it up. Have good boundaries, red carpet service, very clear communication, responsive to emails, kind, but knowing when that ends, right? Don't take too much responsibility, but take proper ownership of what you can do for them, right? And you will have clients pay you and pay you forever and ever. They will not want to lose you. That is so key. My last tip today is meet monthly. There are so many things that very creative, visionary, hot mess business owners, which I can say that because I'm one, Zoom is magical because sometimes I just need to dump my thoughts, right? So I can communicate with Rachel over email, I can send her Slacks, but sometimes it is just best for me to get on and just tell her, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing, but then that's attached to this. And then we'd have to do this. And then what do you think about this? And we can like solve problems together quickly, or even just talking it out helps give me clarity. So the people who are going to hire you are most likely visionary. Okay. That's why they need you. They need you to handle details, their email, their calendar. They need you to go into Calendly and change settings for them. They need you to proof emails and schedule them. They need you to be creating images, all kinds of things. There's so many things that VAs can do, but they are going to be looking at the big picture of where their business is headed, and they are going to need to brain dump with you. And what's great, you guys, is in Zoom now, you can turn on AI and get a summary of your entire meeting. It's amazing. You go, you edit it, and you send it to them. Here's what we talked about. You're going to look so freaking cool. And that's another reason why to try to charge for packages and higher rates is AI is amazing, but it's going to make your hours lower. So if you're using AI, we've got to make sure that you're getting paid properly. All right. Because I imagine if you needed a new driveway, you would not pay the driveway person per hour, right? If they got paid per hour, they would not bring the big machinery and break up your driveway and haul it away with the big, again, using stories that I don't know anything about, but the big dumpster thing, right? Whatever it's called. They if they were getting paid per hour, they'd get like a shovel, right? Like per hour is not always the best. You want to give a quote like, yes, we can absolutely tear out this driveway. lay down new gravel because we've got a problem with sinking and stuff, relay it, and that's going to be $5,000, right? You don't know how many hours it's going to take. They invested in the equipment, baby, right? They're either going to rent the big backhoe thing or they bought, the good stuff, or they hired a team or whatever, right? So they quoted you $5,000. You said yes. And now they're getting paid. And I have hired so many people, especially at this house, because our businesses was up, they were rolling. We had that income, and I wanted to repaint the whole house. We've got some like 2-story walls. Okay, so our family room is 2-story. I'm not getting on a ladder. Nobody's getting on a ladder, right? I had to hire that out to get it repainted. And we did landscaping projects. And every time I outsource stuff like that, I am absolutely amazed at the equipment that they bring, right? Because the tools are everything. So you need to charge appropriately because of the tools you've invested. All right. And again, we talk about this more in the academy, but meet monthly, listen to them, outline what you'll do, what they need to do, be very, very clear. If you're not yet in the academy, I would love to have you join us. And we are going to put a link in the chat right now. I've got 2 things for you. I've got the enrollment link, and then I've also got a special offer for you. Check your email for that offer, all right? And make sure that you look at the deadline for that, because it's not going to last forever. And that is a marketing technique as well, okay? Because you've got to be very clear. And I know that some of you guys, you are weighing out your options. You may be trying to figure out what type of business to build. You might be looking at several options of different ways to become a VA. And so I want to, first of all, just highlight some of the reasons why the VA Academy is different. One thing is, you guys, other programs don't have private coaching, but that is something I can't get away from. I started out teaching private piano. I homeschooled my kids one-on-one, and I love business coaching one-on-one, because what I can do is I can look at your circumstances, your background, your skills, your strength, your personality, your wiring, your Clifton strengths, your Kolbe, and I will help map out a plan for you based on that. So anybody can sell a course, video recordings. This is different. All right. So that's the first thing, is you're going to get 3 private coaching calls. But you also get a chance to go through these challenges, which again, I don't think any other program does this, where we're actually checking your work. And then we're saying, okay, we've verified they're legit, they're good, they're trustworthy. We'll put you on our directory and we'll match you to clients. So when they request a specific match, those are some of the ways that the VA Academy with Never Alone Coaching really stands out. I would say it's also just an extremely encouraging, positive place. Our Facebook group is just so helpful. I think the ladies here are just amazing. And if you're currently in the group, you can say that in the chat, because if you that's what you felt. Rachel's amazing. Couldn't do it without her. You get a lot of feedback and help. We're actually really in this with you. We're in the trenches. We're celebrating. Also, like when you get clients and they ask you questions, you're like, I'm not quite sure. You have this whole army of VAs to ask, right? Also, tech is constantly changing. So I love staying on top of this stuff. Chris is even more of a tech nerd than I am. So you get access to Chris, access to his brain. Like when a lot of us are like stumped, like, I don't know, why is it doing that? Chris is like, well, let me tell you, blah, 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 and he has the answers. So that's some of the advantages to the VA Academy with us. And I just wanted to outline that. We would be happy to have you join us.